Hello, everyone. Happy Friday. This is Steph, the founder of Host Agency Reviews, and you've landed on the Friday 15, where every Friday at 12 p.m. Central Time, we answer the questions that you have sent in to us. So thank you for sending them in. And today, my co-host is Krissi Harmon with OAL Network. Hello, Krissi.
Hey, Steph, how are you?
Good. So just a little FYI for everyone, Krissi sent me over some shark teeth in the mail the other day, which was really exciting. So she was like, I don't know what you're going to do with them. So I was like, these are not normal in Minnesota. I'm going to show these to my niece and nephew and all my friends' kids, and they are going to think I'm the coolest thing ever. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes. So, well, before we jump into questions for today, let me go ahead and remind everybody that if you have questions you would like to submit for the Friday 15, you can go ahead and go to hostagencyreviews.com/Friday15. Or you can use that cool QR code if you're watching on YouTube that I just popped up. And you can also get email alerts so that every Friday we will send the questions to you ahead of time, as well as a link to where you can watch it. And then the other thing to mention is it is survey season here at Host Agency Reviews. So we already have over 100, no, not 100, 1,000 respondents, which is
Wow,
fantastic.
congratulations.
Yes, and we always cite the reports that come from the survey throughout the Friday 15. They're incredibly important for benchmarking things. So we would really encourage you to take the survey. I'm going to put a QR code up for that. We'll also put a link to it, a link to where you can take the survey in the comments, and that's at hostagencyreviews.com/survey. And just a reminder, so this year is a little bit different. So it takes our team hundreds to create all the images, to crunch the data, to write everything up. Their last year 65 or 55-page reports. So they take us a really, really long time. So this year, we're encouraging everyone to take the survey because that means you can also get the survey results, the reports that we publish for free. Otherwise, it will be an $89 cost. So please make sure to take the survey so that way you can get it for free and you'll be able to benchmark your agency and get all sorts of tasty data. And it'll just take a few minutes of your time. So that is all our news for today. So Krissi, let's jump into our questions submitted. So this first one is from Becca. And Becca says, as someone who is just starting out trying to build a business, there seems to be so many monthly costs adding up. Isn't that the truth?
Yep.
There are monthly host agency fees, websites, branding, bank account minimums, and then a marketing plan and other fun stuff like Travefy or TravelJoy. Are there any suggestions for a simplified plan where you should focus on spending money to gain clients before you gain actual traction? And what should you wait to invest in until after you've grown a solid client list? I know there's typically a long lead time, so it could be months of cost before there is any actual payout. And this is a fantastic question because I think unless you're
Absolutely.
flush with money, but most new business owners run into this. I know that I did. So, Krissi, what have you kind of seen your advisors doing, and what do you recommend?
Well, honestly, we recommend, or I personally recommend, not jumping in with all and purchasing all these added things that you can get. I think you need to boil it down to what suits you the best and then build from there. I never suggest to, in fact, I dissuade people actually from, investing in things that are going to cost them monthly because you need to take your cost of your host, what you're going to be investing in, and add that because they're going to have contracts. They're going to be, so if you sign
Yeah.
up for something that's $39 a month, they're going to want a 12-month contract typically. So that's 460 something dollars. There you have to start figuring out exactly how much you are going to have to produce and earn in commission in order to get your return on your investment. And so I don't recommend if you're new to this business, Excel is your best friend, or
Hmm.
OneNote is your best friend. And there's plenty of tools available to you that you don't need to jump in and get a CRM right away.
Yeah,
Um,
the CRM one, I think you can definitely save on right
yes,
away, especially because most new advisors aren't going to have 50 people that they're working with. You're just going to have a few people.
exactly. And you can even by the time that you get to that large volume, you might already have a system in place where you might not even need a CRM,
Mhm.
because when you'll get into your routine and how you want to do things. There's other ways too of doing. I always suggest, build your business Facebook page. That's free. Instagram, it's free. The Nextdoor app is, put
Oh, that's
yourself
a good
out.
one too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
people know that. Oh my gosh, I have a travel advisor that lives 2 doors down from me. I was planning a trip to something. So there's lots of things that you can do, and you can scale it back, of course, to you. And you could do a little bit of advertising with Facebook. Then you can do just a small little burst, a boost, and it doesn't cost you very much. So there's tons of little free things or minimal things that you can do in order to get started in this business. But I never ever recommend anybody to start and get all of that stuff. And that's why we keep our membership fee low, because we don't include all those things. If you want them, you can have them, but
Mhm.
you just have to add them up. And then, for example, I think if you joined at our highest level, which is 80% for $299, all you would need to do is sell one package based on 15% commission of about a vacation about $2,200. And you know what? You'll break even on your return.
Mhm.
And then everything else and then you can add things in, if you want
Yeah.
to. And she had mentioned, Becca had mentioned about like Travify and things like that, and those are wonderful.
Yeah,
I
and just
really
let's clarify for people that don't know what Travelify and Travel Joy are. Do you wanna take that?
Sure.
Do a quick explainer?
Travify is like an app that where you can build so they can have their itinerary on their phone. And Travel Joy is more like
They're kind of crossing into each other now. They're
yeah,
both they're both coming up with the I think Travel Joy now is starting to do itinerary building, in addition to the CRM stuff.
yeah, they're more like a client management system, I think. But
Mhm.
again, if you have Excel, OneNote, those are good things. And I'll show you one thing that people don't even realize that. I mean, as long as you give your customer the personal touch, whether it's printing, or you can make something, a book. We make booklets through Publisher. Publisher is a little bit extra in Microsoft Office, but I actually have one here that I'll show you that we did for our group. You can see
Oh,
it.
nice.
And then it is several pages, and we go into detail and we tell them everything about their cruise, all the details about what they need to do, what they need to bring. And you can make this, and our customers love these. And
Mhm.
every time you go, and it's like their little travel Bible. They carry it with them, and we put little notes in the back. And then we have, you can include like, we do like a travel packing list in the back form. And this is free. I mean,
Yeah.
the the programs that you're looking into, you you have to input all that data as well. So you're still inputting it even though you're building this from scratch,
Yeah.
because it's still time consuming. It really is.
That's That's the thing with when you're first starting out, but you usually have more time than money, and so you're putting in that sweat equity.
Yes.
And like besides Publisher, like another popular one you could work in is Canva,
Oh,
um,
I love Canva.
which we'll put a link into, and you can, have an itinerary template that you use in there. Of course, the downside to this is with something like Travify, it pulls a lot of information, and if the flights change, it'll automatically update that. And
Hmm.
this is, of course, going to be more manual, but
Hmm.
it also is saving you that monthly cost every month.
Right. And definitely, I mean, if you down the line, I would it's that's the way of the world is going. Everything is apps, but some people still like tangible whatnots, to have in their hands.
Hmm.
Um, but also your customers, if they're traveling, they're also going to also download the airlines app, which is going to notify them as well whenever there's a gate change or a time change or something. So you still have those apps that are going to be still giving them live information.
Hmm.
Cruise lines have their own apps. Everybody's got their own app now.
That's a
So
great point. Yeah.
but I mean, I do love the product. I think it's really very cool. It's just you don't need to start with it, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I really don't think you need to start. It's not something I think you should come out of the gate. I think you need to get focused on yourself, promoting yourself, getting your name out there, get your friends and your family to share your information, and and just do it all in a way that it's most cost effective. If you have the money to invest, then by all means maybe give it a shot. But again, you maybe save it, squirrel it away, and then use it later on down the line once you see where your business is growing. But you
Yeah.
also have to make sure that you want to make sure that you're focusing on you need to get a target audience, and then build from your target audience with your social media.
Yeah, and I'm going to put a link in as well for a resource too. We have a tutorial on, although I've heard it's changed a little bit, but Wix has a free website building program that's really easy to use. So instead for something where you're going to have a monthly cost that's more expensive, um, even if it's just a really simple landing page you have up there, that's a great way to get things done at low cost, Becca, as you get started. So hopefully those are some great tips for you. Let's move into our next one with Jamie S. So Jamie says, I just attended a seminar to become an independent travel agent. At the end, they stated there's a monthly fee of $69. Anytime you have to pay for a job, it makes me suspicious. But then I did a little research, and then this is very common. Is it worth it? They do give a lot of support, and certification is included. This would be my second job for me. I currently am an insurance agent, so I would probably put in about 20 to 30 hours a week. Thank you. All right. Chrissy, thoughts on this?
Well, Jamie, every host agency is going to charge a fee, and it's basically, as our owners would say, is to get skin in the game. Because you want to have people who are really interested in joining it, doing this as a career or a part-time career, if you're doing something full-time. So but you always want to make sure that you're comparing apples to apples whenever you're looking at host agencies, because there are host agencies out there that um, appear to be host agencies, and then they also tend to then they run into this MLM, um,
Yeah.
and so you have to really investigate. And I think in your question you mentioned something about certifications,
Hmm.
and so it would depend. I would research that too, because you never know. Because I don't know if if that's actually an accredited certification from one of like like a preferred supplier like ASTA or CLIA or something like that, or is it just an agency saying you passed their training? So I mean, and what's that? That's more
Yeah, there
related.
isn't actually we should clarify there isn't actually a certification that you need to have in order
Mm,
to become a travel advisor. And I'm also going to share my screen really quick because on our site we have these multi-level marketing agencies.
mhm,
We have an article on them because if you go into the search field and just type MLM, it'll pop up. But it'll explain more about the MLM model because it can be a little bit tricky. We also on our list of the host agencies, there's some we call them MLM hybrids because they will have a marketing branch, which is the MLM side, and then they'll have their host agency branch. So they'll say, "Oh, we're actually not an MLM. The marketing branch is the MLM." And so we have classified those as MLM hybrids. And if you go to the host agency list and expand the filters and click on MLM hybrid, that will show you who the MLM hybrids are to kind of, we also have alerts on their site as well because we want to make sure that people that are signing up for them know exactly what they're signing up for because there's some things that make MLMs not so great sometimes.
right. And that's and it devalues what the travel advisor of today does, because it's we've worked so hard to get the recognition of being travel professionals, and that's what you want to be a travel professional.
Mhm. And
And
let's go ahead,
oh
or
no, I was
Chrissy.
just going to say that, but yeah, you are going to run into where every host is going, because if we didn't charge some sort of a fee, we would have everybody just joining up for free, and that's all we would be doing, and then we wouldn't be able to support the agents that we have that are really interested, who really want to succeed in this industry.
Mhm. Yeah, exactly. So there's a couple resources I want to point out here. So let me jump back to the site, because the first one is, we talked about that survey we're doing right now and some of the data that comes out of that. So one of the things, I'm just going to pull up the report. So this is what the report looks like. That is a result of the survey. And I want to point out to you, Jamie, just kind of the startup costs. So there's a new advisor section of the report, and if we click on that and go to the startup costs, you can see that, the mode, which is the most frequent amount people spend on starting their agency, is 500, but the median is more like 1,500. So you can expect to put about that much money in, between, like, I would say 500 and 1,500 would be pretty reasonable. The reason for average it gets up a little bit higher with 3,300 is when someone joins a franchise, they're really on the far end of the spectrum. It costs anywhere from $10,000 to $30,000 for a franchise, and so that really skews the averages. But I would say, definitely expect to at least put that much into your agency. And then the other thing I'll point out is, if we go up in the top and we, let me see, if we type in calculator, so there's a host agency commission plan comparison calculator that we have an article. And this is a great way to, we'll put a link to this again in the resources, but this is a great way to kind of, if you're comparing host agencies, how much you're actually paying each month versus the commission split. Because the way it usually works in travel is that the more you pay, the less of a cut the host agency takes, and vice versa. And so this allows you to kind of, calculate that out. And it also gives you some data on, like, normal host startup fees, the annual fees, what the most common commission split is, what the highest commission split is. So lots of fun data within there, if that's something you're interested in. And again, this all comes from that survey, which the QR code is still up there if anyone is interested in taking that. Let's
That's
see.
great. I
Okay.
love that part. I love that on your site.
Yeah, I sometimes forget about this one being up there,
Hmm.
but I usually try to remember, when it comes to, like, cost, to remember to share that with people.
Yeah, it's really good because when I'm start talking, then I start doing the numbers in my head, and I'm like, okay, am I doing the math right?
Yeah, no, and it's so nice just to have something done for you. So,
Yeah, absolutely.
well, let's see. Our last question is from Gary. So Gary says, is it possible to become a travel agent without joining a host agency or obtaining an ASTA or CLIA number, and still get access to VAX or other travel agent booking engines? So, Krissi, before I turn it over to you, I'm going to do a couple breakdowns here. So VAX is VAX Vacation Access, which is kind of like a login portal that travel advisors use, to do bookings with various vendors. And then the ASTA is American Society of Travel Advisors, which is their national trade organization. And they actually, Gary, they don't have an accreditation number at all. But CLIA, who is the Cruise Lines International Association, they do have an accreditation number. So, having had that out of the way, Krissi, what are your thoughts on this? Like, can people become a travel advisor with joining a host agency?
Well, they most certainly can. I mean, you can apply for, you would have to have either an ARC number, which is the Airline Reporting Corporation, or a CLIA number. Sometimes they're also referred to as IATA numbers. There's a lot involved in those different um, programs in order to get involved. But my question would be to Gary is, why would you want to do that? Because it just came to me. I would feel like I was like, you've ever seen the movie Castaway with Tom Hanks on the
Mm-hmm.
island all by himself? That's what you would be. You would be all alone. You would have no host to support you, no preferred vendors, minimal commissions. You wouldn't be able to network. You wouldn't have any agents to network. I understand your question, and I'm not downplaying your question. I'm just saying that I wouldn't suggest doing that. For the simple fact of, you're not going to have anybody to help you. You're going to be by yourself. And whenever you're small, which, until you could build your business, you're not going to get any recognition from suppliers as far as, invitations to seminars at sea, or, visits, or, you know, some any kind of trainings of some, of course the recorded trainings, but like one-on-ones where they'll meet with you in person. A lot of suppliers have gone to that where they'll meet with hosts, independent contractors in the cities that they live in. So
Mm-hmm.
I would just, I don't, to answer your question, yes, but I wouldn't suggest it.
Yeah, and um, you know, obviously we're host agency reviews, and Chrissy is a host agency as well. But I will tell you that on our end, because we don't really have, we're not making anything if people end up going with certain host agencies or not. I will say that for probably 95% of the people that we chat with, we suggest the host agency. And if there's the certain situations where we'll be like, no, you could probably go out on your own. Is it someone that's doing a very specific destination usually, and they have all of the on the ground contacts that they need already? They know all of the vendors, and they have been in the industry, so they're not starting from the ground up and having to build up. They probably have clientele already. And for those situations, I'm just pulled up our travel agency accreditation article option. And we're going to link to this in the comments, but it'll kind of walk you through what the different accreditation numbers are. And it goes over the requirements and the costs, which is going to be more expensive than joining a host agency in a lot of situations, as well as depending which one you go for, there's different things that you need to do, but that's something to consider. And then the other thing I'm going to pull up is the kind of the benefits. Chrissy talked a little bit about this, but the benefits to joining a host agency. So up in the search field, I'm just typing in benefits, and that'll pull up our 10 benefits of using a host agency. But there's a lot of things that Chrissy talked about already, that's in there, but like some of the big ones, especially, is again, it's going to be probably a lower startup cost. This depends on which host you're with, but then getting your accreditation number on your own. You're going to have the support of a consortium, which is the next level up from a host agency, and you're not going to be able to get that on your own, because unless you have consortium, in order to join them, have minimum sales requirements. So if you're brand new to the industry, and let's say you really wanted to join Virtuoso or Travel Leaders or whatever it is, and you went and got your own accreditation, you would not be able to join them on your own unless you had, I think Virtuoso it's millions of dollars in
Mhm.
their preferred sales. And actually, you know what? We can check this out on our site. Because if
Oh,
we go
cool.
to the list and you go to consortia, so let's check out Virtuoso. We go to their profile, and you can see the minimum sales requirement is $2 million. And if we go to Travel Leaders Network, we can see, which is the largest consortium out there, you can see that their minimum sales requirement is $100,000. So you really need to make sure that you're taking a look at what the benefits of a host agency are. There's a lot of intangible as well as tangible things, and you can read the article for a little more information on that, Gary. Let's see.
Perfect.
Well, Chrissy, if anyone has any questions for you about your program, or wants to learn more, what are the best ways for them to reach out to you?
Well, they can email me. It's Krissi, KRISSI, at OAL Travel Network.com. Or you can call. We have an easy number to remember. It's 844 OAL link,
Oh,
um,
fun.
or our website, OALTravelNetwork.com.
Perfect. Well, everyone, we're going to wrap up, but just a reminder. So, for who's coming up in the future. So, next week, we're having Uniglobe as a sponsor. It'll just be me going solo. Who knows what'll happen? And then May 19th, we have Outside Agents as a co host. And then May 26th, Travel Leaders 365 with Lindsay Taylor Lauer is going to be back again. We just had her on a few weeks ago. So thank you for joining us again this Friday. If you want to sign up for email alerts for the Friday 15, you can go to hostagencyreviews.com/Friday15. Chrissy, thank you so much for
Thank
joining
you,
us.
Steph. It's good to see you.
Yes, enjoy your weekend, everybody.
You as well.